I am opening up. I am opening up. I am opening up to you. We are trying to connect with you. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing, George?
The church service was good,
Good.
and we are here. We are
Everyone's still here. Wonderful, wonderful. Good to see you all.
uh, you can read in English.
Okay. And God said, let the water teem with living creatures, and let birds fly above the earth across the expanse of the sky. So God created the great creatures of the sea and every living and moving thing with which the water teems, according to their kinds, and every winged bird according to its kind. And God saw that it was good. God blessed them and said, be fruitful and increase in number, and fill the water in the seas, and let the birds increase on the earth. And there was evening and there was morning, the fifth day.
And I think of this day 5 as the beginning of the new natural mind, or the new body for the life of the spirit, for the life of the mind. You know, in Heaven and Hell, it often talks about how angels have a body now, just like they did when they were in the world. So you think about that in terms of when I was in an earthly mode of perceiving, but it's now even more exquisite and more perceptive, and it's alive. So it says the mind, the state of mind, is in the fifth state of regeneration when it speaks from a principle of faith which belongs to the understanding and thereby confirms itself in the true and in the good. So this day 5 is a state of confirming that the goods and truths are the Lord's. And again, it's not an intellectual thing. This is a lived experience.
Alone. Day one, 2, and 3 was like, okay, there's light, then this water, then a little bit of land, but it all sort of seemed like it was happening inside of yourself. But then in day 4, you like awaken to the cosmos. You've got a sun, moon, and stars. And so you recognize the reality of these spiritual connections beyond yourself and divine inflow. So it comes after recognizing that you're connected to something greater than yourself, that then when you next turn inward toward yourself, you realize you're not alone on the inside either. There's actually as much, in the water as there is way far above it. So this thing about the creatures, that they're alive. And to me, that is this picture that your outer self, what you're also realizing on day 5 is that your outer self, and as we're going to get into it, like the parts of your outer self, are not passive. It's not just like, yes, it receives this life, but it doesn't only receive it, it actually has a life of its own, and then you can engage with it. So day 5 is really this deepening of our ability for inner relationship.
Week 5, I'd like us to again use drawing or writing with our non-dominant hand to explore images of things, understandings, gifts, coming alive. What does that mean to come alive, be fruitful in our material and our spiritual bodies? It seems to me there's a natural tension between the physical body and the spiritual body, between things that might seem scary, like the sea monsters that live under the ocean, in the unconscious, and the beautiful birds that fly effortlessly through the sky, the air, the heavens, the spiritual world. In today's scripture, both have been called good and blessed by God. One seems to help us shape and inform the other. We aren't meant to be lopsided. We aren't meant to just pay attention to the sea monsters or the birds that fly through the air.
What I will offer a reflection, and then I would love to open it up for Ted. But was thinking about evolution, right? And we sort of know that life really started in the waters, right? That's where life began. And so the sea creatures in my read are really those like very ancient parts of ourselves that have been there, and it's very resonant with the unconscious um, part of our human experience, and it's all still in us. I was reminded of how when a baby is formed in the womb, it kind of goes through all the stages of evolution from like the one cell organism to the two cell to the so the sea creatures in my read are these parts of our what it is to be a human being, what it is to be alive, that are ancient and that are very primal, kind of primal functions that on day 5 really start to come alive. We start to become more aware of our body's life, and there's wisdom in it. There's information for us in it. And simultaneous with that awareness, the birds of the air also come into being. So there's a real balance between the two, which I think is actually really important for our spiritual lives. We're not meant to just go into these ecstasies of intuitive awarenesses and lose touch with our bodies. And we also don't want to just be driven by our body's instincts. We want to have a balance between the two. And as we regenerate on day 5, there's a balance and there's activity, there's life, there's movement, there's more life flowing through us.
Here we are on the cusp of the completion of the cycle, right? Day 6 kind of completes the work, and day 7 is the day of rest, which means that as we approach the end, I think it might be helpful to have that in mind when we consider what's happening here in day 5. And this is the emergence of the animal order, the animal kingdom of life. The mineral kingdom, if you like, or molecular kingdom of water and land that came into existence. And then the vegetables, the plants of the earth, vegetative consciousness comes into being. And now consciousness is growing yet further. And it's the water and the air, interestingly enough, where consciousness emerges rather than the land. Like the development of consciousness on land is going to be the culminating aspect in 2 movements, the animals and then human beings. And that gives us kind of a fourfold denouement to this process, this creative process of creation, which took me to think about Jung and Jung's idea of there are 4 functions of consciousness, 4 kind of energies, primal energies of consciousness. And I don't want to necessarily tie them to each other, but it made me think about how in water we have a certain kind of conscious energy, psychic energy, often associated with feelings when we work with dreams, close to the body in that way that Sage was talking about. And birds, because they're in the air and they have the perspective of being above things and seeing things that you can't see when you're on the ground, are a symbol of thought, an expression of thought. And what I think might be helpful for us in our dream journey to think about is how our feelings and our thoughts have lives of their own. Right? They have lives of their own. And we don't necessarily have awareness of that. Right? In the unfolding of dreams, animals, Jung thought, were always incredibly important when they showed up because they're a conscious psychic functioning that you're developing a living relationship with, and that in time might mature and grow and become more conscious, either in a kind of domestication or in the symbol transforming into a human symbol. A human person, human relationship, human structure or institution. And we're on that trajectory here. We're going towards the human. So let's think about, as we reflect on our dreams past, dreams we might share in our group today, dreams to come. Let's think about how the psychic energy of the water, the living energy of the water, the fish and sea creatures, manifest our feelings, that that we don't fully own yet, we don't fully have consciousness of yet, but we can grow into that. And likewise, the birds of the air manifesting for us where our thoughts go, our wider perspectives, and how those things might become more conscious, more integrated into our daily awareness and our daily decisions in life. So that, as the invitation will be, we human beings might be the crown of creation, right? That we can hold it all in an integrative way, as God intends for us. And in that way, we kind of manifest God's own presence in creation, because we're able to perceive, cherish, and care for the whole, both within ourselves and in the creation around
It's
us.
deliverance to be intimate, to be honest and accepted. And I love it when we both are